finished. So you actually missed one of the key components, which is a civil society.
Yes.
It's an intersection of public, private, and civil society that actually makes our community stronger. You can't possibly deliver on any of these programs if you don't have the civil society component of it. So if I take an issue like, let's say, well, what we have faced with COVID-19, it was a response from a private sector entity that realizes that it is important to speak with government and civil society to understand what is being done at country level, at regional level, because we have regional bodies, but also at continental level of the African Union. This time around, we had the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, which didn't exist when Ebola hit West Africa in 2014. And that was a major shift in the way things were done this time around. But it is the engagement of public, private, and civil society organizations that allowed us to be where we are today in ensuring that key messages and communication reaches communities everywhere on the continent. That's not necessarily the role of the private sector. They can help, enable, they can push the message, but you need that element. Then you also have a role of government. They've been very quick to respond. We've learned a lot of the lesson from fighting Ebola in Uganda, in DRC, and by the way, DRC just became Ebola-free again 2 days ago. We must understand that these issues are being resolved because all these three different parts work together. Of course, there will always be issues, but we have to remember and always ask ourselves, why are we doing it? We are doing it to improve the continent. We are doing it to improve the lives of individuals. We are doing it to, most importantly, understand where is it that we want to go as a community. And where we want to go as a community starts with improving agriculture. It starts with improving manufacturing, because we're talking about employment and creativity. You need this. Most countries in the world, or most regions of the world that have been able to get to where they are, they've actually addressed the question of agriculture. So when you get public, private sector, and civil society organization that resolve this key important element around agriculture, it means that we are creating wealth in rural areas. And I insist on the element about rural areas because the majority of Africans actually live in rural areas. They're not in urban areas. And if we ensure that health, education, and education with a purpose, so if they are focused on agriculture, how do we train them better so that they can focus on what they do best, can help us to solve some of these other problems. So Ebola is one of them, COVID-19 is one of them, but today, the most important question, how do we use the young people of the continent, we are going to be young people of the world, to have the required skills for the jobs that we need to have on the continent. And that will be my last point around getting the African Continental Free Trade Area off the ground. Because that means that a young person in Sao Tome, where it's a population of 300,000 people, can now dream of a 1.3 billion market. That's what AFCTA can do to young people's creativity. You're no longer required to just think about your own small country, but you can actually think about the African continent. And that is only possible if you bring in public, private, and civil society organization to realize that we can actually fight to improve trade within Africa, which at the moment is 2% when you look at the intra-Africa trade. So thank you, Kwesi.
Thank you. And for those of you who are joining us virtually, you can send